You're standing in the fluorescent glow of a pharmacy aisle. Pink boxes, purple boxes, soft pastel promises stacked 4 shelves high. You grab one without thinking, scan it, drop it in the bag, and forget it existed by the time you reach the car. The average woman today will use somewhere between 11 and 16,000 disposable pads and tampons across her lifetime. A multi-billion-dollar global industry exists for one purpose: to make a monthly biological event vanish quietly into a trash can. And here's a question almost nobody thinks to ask. For 99% of human history, none of this existed. No pharmacy, no pink box, no cotton, no plastic, no adhesive strip. So what did they actually do? The answer is stranger, older, and far more ingenious than the pharmacy aisle ever wants you to imagine. Let's start with time, because time is the reason any of this matters. Anatomically, modern humans have existed for roughly 300,000 years. The disposable sanitary pad, as a mass-produced object, has existed since about 1921, a little over a century. That means for more than 299,000 years, every woman who ever lived navigated her cycle with nothing but the materials around her, the knowledge of the women before her, and her own body. This was not a marginal problem. Across most of human history, women spent enormous stretches of their adult lives menstruating, pregnant, or nursing. The cycle was woven into the rhythm of the group, and the solutions they engineered were not crude stopgaps. They were specialized, regional, and passed down with care. Now, here's where it gets extraordinary. In 2003, the anthropologist Beverly Strassman published findings from years of fieldwork among the Dogon people of Mali. She didn't just ask women about menstruation. She physically tracked who entered the village menstrual huts and when over hundreds of nights. What she documented was an entire social architecture built around the cycle. Dedicated structures, strict timing, a communal system so precise it functioned as a public record of every woman's fertility. Menstruation in many traditional societies was not hidden in a bathroom. It was a visible, organized, scheduled part of life. The materials women used inside those spaces were drawn from whatever the land offered, and that varied enormously across the planet. But here's what's fascinating. The archaeology of menstruation is nearly invisible, and that absence tells its own story. Organic materials, moss, bark, wool, plant fiber, soft hide, decompose. They don't survive 40,000 years the way a stone blade or a bone needle does. So researchers reconstruct these practices from ethnography, from the historical record, and from the rare written mention. The ancient Greek physician Hippocrates, writing around 400 BC, is often cited as describing women fashioning improvised tampons from soft material wrapped on a small wooden frame. In Hawaii, the soft inner fibers of the hapu'u fern were used. Across the Arctic, women relied on absorbent moss and tundra plants. In parts of Africa, rolls of soft grass or cloth. Each solution was matched precisely to the local ecology. So what did people actually do, materially, month to month? The honest answer is a list, and each item is its own small act of engineering. Moss. Sphagnum moss in particular can hold up to 20 times its own weight in liquid and contains compounds that mildly resist bacteria. Indigenous peoples across the northern hemisphere used it for menstruation and for infant care alike. Wool. Soft, washable, reusable, and warm. A staple across Europe and Central Asia for centuries. Plant fiber. Softened bark, shredded reed, the inner pith of certain stalks, pounded until pliable. Hide. Thin, supple animal skin, sometimes lined with absorbent fill. Cloth. Once weaving existed, folded and washed and folded again, the direct ancestor of the modern reusable pad. Nothing. In some foraging societies, particularly where women were highly active and diets produced different cycle patterns, the practice was simply to let it pass with minimal intervention. Let that sink in. 6 broad strategies, each refined over thousands of years, none of them involving anything you could buy. Then something changed. The Industrial Revolution took the moss and gave us cotton mills. It took the village hut and gave us the private bathroom. It took the circle of women who taught each girl what to expect and gave us a sealed pastel box with instructions printed on the inside flap. Mass production took the knowledge that once passed mouth to mouth, mother to daughter, and replaced it with a barcode. The marketing of the early 20th century took something communal and visible and recast it as something to be concealed, deodorized, and never spoken of. Convenience arrived, and quietly, an entire body of inherited knowledge slipped beneath the surface and was forgotten. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. The shift wasn't only material, it was psychological. For most of human history, a girl's first period was marked. Across countless cultures, it triggered ceremony, recognition, a formal welcome into womanhood, sometimes celebration by the entire community. The body's signal was answered by the group with meaning. The modern protocol is the opposite. Hide it, manage it alone, apologize for it, make sure no one ever knows it's happening. We did not just change the technology. We changed whether the event was allowed to mean anything at all. And the research on menstrual shame today, the secrecy, the euphemisms, the anxiety so many girls carry into their first cycle, suggests the cost of that silence is real and measurable, and ours. So go back to that pharmacy aisle, the fluorescent light, the pink box you grabbed without a thought. Inside it is a small, perfect, disposable object that solves a problem in seconds and asks nothing of you but to throw it away. For 300,000 years, the same body you are standing in handled the same monthly tide with moss pressed soft between the fingers, with wool washed in a cold stream, with the hands and the words of every woman who came before, inside a space where the whole community knew exactly where she was and why. She was not hiding. She was not ashamed. She was held. You have 16,000 disposable pads waiting for you across a lifetime, and not one of them was made by someone who knows your name. Somewhere underneath all that convenience, an older version of you is sitting in a circle of women who do, still waiting, quietly, to teach you what your body already remembers.